Hello, everyone. Welcome to this online info session for the Call for Residency Host 2025-2026. In this session, we will give a summary of the guidelines for the Call for Residency Host. And at the end of it, there will be a question time. You can find all information in the call in our website. In this session, we will talk about these points: who can apply, what are the eligible countries, what is the grant calculation. We give an overview of the process, key dates, and more information. Now, Culture Moves Europe is a mobility scheme that supports individual mobility and residency projects across the Creative Europe countries. It is funded by the European Union and implemented by the Goethe-Institut. We have two calls open: the call for individual mobility, which is open to artists and cultural professionals, individuals or groups, and this is already running. And we have the call for residency hosts that is open to legal entities who want to host a residency. Our focus today will be exactly this. This call is already open, as I mentioned, and the deadline for applications is the 16th of March 2026. Here we give you an overview of the table of content of this call. When we say call, we also mean a document that includes all the guidelines, and it is published in our website. It might seem quite long, but in every page we give quite clearly the information about the eligibility, the grant calculation, explanations, and more details. So I remind you that this session is just a summary of this call and the guidelines. And of course, you need to go through the document, read the call before applying. Who is eligible for this call is about legal entities that are registered and based in a Creative Europe country. They are active in an eligible sector and they have the capacity to host a residency project. Both newly and well-established entities are welcome. Example of legal entities are NGOs, public bodies, foundations, private companies, self-employed professionals as freelancers. The Creative Europe countries are all the 27 countries in the European Union, plus some partner countries and the OCTs and OR regions. You see here the list, and again, all this information is in the call. The eligible sectors of Culture Moves Europe are architecture, music, cultural heritage, performing arts, design and fashion design, visual arts, and literature. We don't have audiovisual sector because it is under the media strand of the Creative Europe program, and need for this sector are covered by other projects and other fundings and not from the culture strand. So we do not accept projects that are mainly with a focus in film creation. The application process in our call has two steps, let's say two phases. In the first phase, interested legal entities apply. Then we evaluate the applications and we give results. You are either selected or rejected. If you are selected, you then proceed to phase two, where you can select your residents. You will have enough time to find the artists that will participate in your residency, complete a second part of your application, the residency info card, and receive the grant agreement and first payment. Some key dates for these two phases. As I said in the first phase, the first step is, of course, to submit an application. The applications are open until the 16th of March, midnight. Then we provide results by the 5th of May. And then you can start the selection of your residents if you are successful, and you can submit the residency info card from the 5th of May until the 30th of September. So you have all this time to submit at any time the additional information of your residents. I will give more information about the info card later in this presentation. And then very, very important, this call is for residencies that start from the 8th of June this year and have a latest finish the 7th of June 2027. So if you're planning to do a residency before June 2026, then you already know that this is not eligible. So you need to have in mind this time frame. All these are the objectives of Culture Move Zero project. We have 5 objectives, and you need to choose 2 out of them. Your residency project, your proposal, can have an objective to explore, to create, to learn, to connect, or to transform. The duration of your residency can be from 21 days up to 90. We have 3 duration categories. The short-term residencies are up to 31 days, the medium-term up to 62, and the long-term residencies up to 90 days. And you see here a little visual about the percentages and the success rate. Of course, we select more short-term residencies, and on average, we have about 12% of long ones. So this can maybe help you decide the duration. Now, in the online application, you will need to, as I said, the legal entity needs to propose a residency, to define a concept, to decide the objectives of the residency, the duration, the location, the mentors, the number of residents, etc. As a host, you will need to provide the accommodation to the residents, either within your premises or on a rented place. You will be expected to provide good working environment, access to facilities with the relevant equipment and materials, depending on the sector, on the objectives and what you are planning to do with your invited artists. And you will need to provide mentorship to the artists, a mentor, at least one, that will provide artistic guidance and feedback to your participants. Very important to note that you cannot charge fees to your residents for the registration or the participation in the residency and the use of any services mentioned above. Now, very important to say here that in some cases, some hosts were deciding to organize extra activities. If this is out of the services and the things that we cover financially, then this is up to you if you would like to charge participants. But when it comes to accommodation, mentoring, food, transportation, it is not allowed to charge the participants. I talked a lot now about the residents and the participant, and more details are here. How many you can invite is up to 5 artists and cultural professionals to take part in your residency. They can be from different countries, different educational and professional backgrounds. It can be a diverse group of artists and of level of experiences. And we remind you that you will be invited to select your residents only after your application is successful and you pass to phase 2. 2 external evaluators evaluate each application, and the evaluation criteria are seen here. It is the project relevance, how the residency is relevant to your work, to your legal entity profile, objectives, and general experience. The preparation and planning is also evaluated, how you are prepared, what is the program, and how you will reach the objectives of the residency, the collaboration, the roles of the team, the mentorship program, the premises and facilities, the impact and the sustainability. Again, all these questions and everything is more detailed and more explained in the call. A question that we receive many times is about reapplication. Here we see an example. If I already apply to this open call, if I can reapply with an improved project idea and an improved application, and unfortunately this is not possible, every legal entity can apply only once under each call. This call is open until March, and a new call will open in autumn 2026. So in the next call, you will be able to reapply. Now, if you already hosted a residency and you are a selected legal entity, you will be able to reapply, but with a different project. And we remind you that priority may be given to first-time applicants in this case. Now, very important, the budget and the grant calculation. This is the money, the amounts that are given to the organization and the artist. The hosting allowance is a fixed amount of 50 euro per resident per day that is given to the legal entity. This is to financially contribute to the accommodation expenses, any equipment, mentor fees, etc. This is really up to you how to use it, because as we said, some legal entities might have accommodation in their premises, or they might need to rent a place. So this really depends on your capacity and your needs. Then we also provide accessibility support if applicable and if needed. This is in cases that the host decides to invite a resident with disability and accessibility needs. And in these cases, more budget is given. And then for each resident, for each artist, we give a fixed amount of 400 euro per round trip. This is for their tickets. A daily allowance of 30 euro per day, and this is to cover expenses of food, local transportation, but it is again up to them how to use this amount. And we also provide specific top-ups and accessibility support if applicable. The host, the legal entity, will receive the full grant amount and is responsible to pay the correct amounts to each resident depending their needs, and the agreement with the legal entity. So here we remind you that in the call for residency host, the legal entity is legally binded with the contract, the grant agreement with the Goethe-Institut, and then it's really up to you how to manage your relation with the artists, have a contract with them, pay them, etc. Culture Moves Europe is not in a legally binding relation, let's say, with the artist in this case. We are only responsible for your application, your contract, and your payment, and then it's up to the organization to pay the artist and to manage the implementation of the project with them. I have talked about top-ups that are given to the residents for specific needs. We have the Green Mobility top-up. This is 400 euro, and it's given to participants that choose to travel in a green way, as we say, using any mean apart from the airplane. We have the OCT OR top-up, 175 euro. This is again a fixed amount and is given to participants that reside or are traveling to an OCT OR destination. And this is because the tickets and the prices are most of the times more expensive for these more far destinations. We have the family top-up that is 200 euro given for every child to the participants. And lastly, the visa top-up is 120 euro, and this is given to participants that need to take a visa to travel. About the accessibility support, if a resident has a disability and an accessibility need, additional support is available. Fixed amounts are given to both the host and the resident, depending on the duration of the project. There is a scale of payment, as you see here. The residents can have personal assistant or a sign language interpreter. This can be professional service or non-professional support. And again, there are different scales of payments, and all of these can be discussed with our team. And here we have an example of a residency project. The NGO Dance Vivo is in Romania. They are active in the performing arts sector, and they decided to do a residency and invite two artists for a 30-day residency. They invited Johan, that will travel by train from Croatia and is the father of a 15-year-old kid, and Salma, that will take a flight from Tunisia and needs a visa. The objectives of the residency is to explore and connect through arts, nature, and somatic practices. Now, the grant, there is an amount for the legal entity. This is 3,000 euro. You see that is the 50 euro for 30 days for the two residents. And then we have Johan's grant is 1,900 euro. This is the travel allowance, the daily allowance, and based on his specific needs, the family top-up and the green top-up. And then we have Salma with a bit less grant, 1,420 euro, because she will receive the standard travel and daily allowance plus the visa top-up to obtain her visa. So the total residency grant amount is 6,320 euro. This amount will be paid to the legal entity, and then the legal entity is responsible to distribute the correct amount to each participant. This can happen either at the beginning of the residency, at the end, or you give percentages of the payment. Again, as we said, this is really up to you how to manage your relation and the implementation of the residency, how to pay your participants, if it's a bank transfer, if it's cash, if it's a weekly, monthly. This will be really up to you. So to apply, you need to have a concept for a residency project where you will invite up to 5 participants. You need to have at least one mentor. You need to have the capacity to implement the residency project. And very, very important, in the application form, you will need to provide supporting documents, the proof of the legal entity registration, the legal entity's artistic portfolio, and the mentor's short CV. So the online application form has a narrative part with some questions to reply and give us the idea of your residency, explain what you want to do, what are the objectives, which is not a very extensive application. It is quite simple. And at the very end, there is a part where you are invited to upload these supporting documents. Here, I might say that the proof of the legal entity registration can be in any language of the EU, because we understand this will be an official document in the language of your country, but the portfolio of your legal entity, something that will present your activities, your profile, and what you do, and the mentor's CV are required to be in English to facilitate the eligibility check and the evaluation. Now, this is all you need to complete the application. That was a summary of the main guidelines and rules that we have there. And today we're going to give you an overview of what happens after phase 1. So if you're selected, what comes next? As we said, after being selected, you will start the selection of your participants. The residents must legally reside in another Creative Europe country, not where your legal entity is based, and this is regardless their nationality. They should be at least 18 years old. They should be active in one of the eligible sectors, and they should all take part in the residency at the same time and for the same duration. And I highlight a bit this because many times we have the question if a residency can be fragmented in different periods, if one artist can come and then another one will join after 2 months. And we always say that it's very, very important that this is thought and designed as a collaboration residency where everyone is there in the same time to work on the same project. Of course, there is given space and freedom that every artist will focus on their specific objectives, let's say, or part in the residency, but it should be as a collaboration. Now, here we give you some ways how to select your residents. It can be through a direct invitation, artists that you already know and probably worked with. You are very free to select them. It can be through an open call that your legal entity will open and manage, or through some matchmaking sessions that our team will organize and deliver very soon to help legal entities find their participants. In the case of the open call, this is again up to your legal entity to organize the open call, the communication, the selection criteria. Our team and Cultural Move Zero project is not involved in the selection criteria of your artist, and this is really a task that your legal entity will have once you are successful in phase 1. The residency info card, as I said, is the second part of your online application, and it will only open to applicants that are successful. So once you receive the results and you are selected in phase 1, this part of the application will open online. And there you will be able to provide additional information about your selected participants, Of course, we will ask for some documents, their CVs or their portfolios, and specific needs that they might have to proceed to the final calculation of the grant. And here you will also have the flexibility to make a few changes from the application. Maybe when you know who will join you, you will have the residency being less days, or you will move the dates, or maybe you might have up to one less participants. So I'm trying to say that there is flexibility between the application and the residency info card, because of course, when you know who is joining and exactly when, some details and some things might change, and we give this space. Once our team validates the residency info card and we know that everything is okay to proceed to the grant agreement, this is the contract that your legal entity will sign with the Goethe-Institut. After signatures of the grant agreement, we proceed to the first installment. As you see here, the first installment, the first payment is the 60% of the grant, and it's given to you approximately up to 1 month after returning the grant agreement. And the balance payment, the remaining money, will be paid to your legal entity at the end of the residency and with the submission of the activity report. This is the final form, and this is where you give some feedback, some results, but it is not a very strict and extensive report where you need to upload a lot of deliverables and documents and really prove what was the result of your residency. This is mainly to receive a feedback from you, to see what worked well and what not. And of course, a small sample of expenses will need to be given to us to prove that the residency took place. This includes the travel tickets of the participants and some proofs for the use of the hosting allowance. Now, if you're interested, how can you apply? This is by going online in the Goethe application portal. This is the platform of the Goethe-Institut where all projects for funding are included there. You will need to create an account with your email, with your legal entity's email, registered as an organization or enterprise and not as an individual. This is important. You will, of course, need to select our project, Culture Moves Europe, and the call for Residency Hosts 2025-2026. You must complete the form only in English, and you have the possibility to save and edit it until the final submission. I remind you that the deadline is the 16th of March, midnight. If you need more information about our project, the call for residency host or the call for individual mobility, you may join our channels, the social media. Here is the link tree. We have a lot of videos in our YouTube channel as well. The website, you may contact your Creative Europe desk. You may read, of course, the call document online and the FAQs section. So there are many, many ways to get informed about our project. Contact our team through our email. And we wish you good luck with your proposals.